Hi, we're each going to talk for 5 minutes. I guess the Reader's Digest version of our books. My book, Empire of Illusion, The End of Literacy and the Triumph of Spectacle, makes the argument that we are the most illusioned nation on the planet, that we have become utterly disconnected from who we are, what we represent, and where we're going, and replaced it with fantasy. It has allowed us to run offshore penal colonies where we openly torture other human beings, suspend habeas corpus, engage in warrantless wiretapping and eavesdropping of American civilians, live through a Banana Republic 2000 election where, unfortunately, this state contributed to the theft of the Democratic vote, and yet describe ourselves as the greatest democracy on earth, a democracy that abrogates the right to impose its virtues on others by force. We have built a system of unfettered capitalism which has turned everything from human beings to the natural environment into commodities for exploitation until exhaustion or collapse. This has hollowed out America from the inside. It's why we are borrowing roughly at a rate of $2 billion a day from the Chinese and have been for the last 10 years. At some point, that has to collapse. We have destroyed our manufacturing base and described it as an opportunity for growth. All of these things have fed into, I think, a very frightening fantasy about where we're headed, that we have, in many ways, remained 40-year-old children, unable to confront as the historian, Harvard historian Charles Mayer calls it, that transition from an empire of production to an empire of consumption. Real wages in this country have remained stagnant since 1973, and just as we maintain empire through credit and borrowing, we maintain a lifestyle that we can no longer afford through credit and borrowing. All of that is collapsing. One strives towards a dream, one lives within an illusion. And the illusion that we are fed is that reality is never an impediment to what we want. That we can, if we just dig deep enough within ourselves, if we find our inner strength, if we grasp, as Tony Robbins says, that we are truly exceptional, if we believe that Jesus can perform miracles, if we focus on happiness, we can fulfill this pernicious psychological idea among consumer culture that has sort of instilled massive consumption as a kind of inner compulsion. And the danger of illusion is that it allows you to remain in a state of perpetual childishness, infantilism. And as that gap opens up between the illusion of who we are and the reality, the foreclosures, the bankruptcies that are caused by the inability to pay medical bills, the collapse of empire, we are unprepared emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually for what it is that is about to confront us. And when the wolf finally bays at the door, when our house is foreclosed, when the unemployment insurance runs out, then you react if you have remained in a state of illusion as a child reacts. You search for a demagogue or a savior who promises moral renewal, vengeance, and new glory. And we can already see that very frightening psychological disease leaping up around the fringes of American society. The only way that one can speak about hope is to break free from a non-reality-based belief system, to begin to speak in a new language of humility, to accept a lifestyle which frees itself from profligate consumption and endorses a new simplicity. Finally, it is not incidental or accidental that the environmental crisis we face is twinned with the economic crisis. It stems from the same disease which is turning everything, human beings, into a commodity, the natural environment into a commodity that we exploit and exhaust until it dies. And either we wake from this illusion or we commit collective suicide.